Hello, EEC students. I thought I would just start documenting stuff that I do on a semi-regular basis because I have a feeling I'm going to be at home for quite a while. This is what I do at night after my daughter and my wife go to bed. I'm a night owl. I am repairing a reverb tank, actually modifying it, and I'll walk you over to where I have an amp, one of my favorite amps. I got this when I was working at a guitar shop in college. It was made by a guy named Bruce Zinke. He used to work for the Fender Custom Shop, and he designed this after he struck out on his own. He also designed this little amplifier. It's based on the LM386 chip that he put into a cigarette box, and he called it the smoking amp. You may have seen me use that in class. And for a few years now, I've been neglecting fixing it. This amp, which is, you can see inside in the back, it's all vacuum tube amp. The reverb pan was broken, and what happens is the signal comes out of the guitar amp via the black wire, or the black plug, and goes back into the guitar amp. And what happens is, when you look at the controls here, there is a knob that is called reverb, and reverb is that echo sound that you can get. Guitarists know that when they tip their amps that have spring reverb, it makes a sound like that because there's literally springs that are vibrating back and forth. So what happens on one side of it, this is, let's see if this is right, yeah, that's the input side. On the input side, you have a little electromagnetic transducer. What that's doing is it's taking the guitar signal sound, and it's just a coil, and so it's receiving a signal. It's causing some vibrations, which cause these springs to vibrate, and they vibrate back and forth. And this side of the reverb tank, this coil picks up those vibrations and turns them back into an electrical signal. But what happens is these vibrations go back and forth along these springs. They multiply, in a sense. They're going back and forth down the spring, and when you send a signal down a spring, it bounces back and forth. So it's mimicking the sound of, or mimicking the effect of sound bouncing off of walls. And what happens then, as it gets picked up and then sent back into the guitar amp via the red wire, you have mixed in a sound that you can mix in that'll give the kind of illusion or a version of echo. And we like to have sounds echo. That's why we play in concert halls and stuff like that. And so putting springs that mimic this into guitar amps was a way to do that. This is, I think it was 1940s, maybe 1930s when this was first figured out. Now mine, the input was broken, and I'd gone back and forth actually a few weeks ago on a Saturday night at 10 p.m. I emailed Zinke Electronics, and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. the founder and owner of the company, Bruce Zinke, had emailed me back. I had asked him for a schematic trying to figure out how to diagnose what was going on with my amp, and he came back and said, we'll just check this, this, and this. And I followed his instructions. We diagnosed that it was this reverb coil, the driver of it, that was broken, and that I should replace the reverb pan. So heading back over to my box here, he suggested when I buy a new reverb pan, and this was $25 on reverb.com, a used gear site, not necessarily for just reverb tanks, get a 3-spring one because those sound better. And I plugged it in, and I think I agree, it sounds a lot better, and it doesn't make all the bouncy sound so much when I move this tank around. What I needed to do on the input right here was solder the ground of the wire to the ground of the entire tank, so that the whole tank acts as a shield, a Faraday cage, to shield noise, so that these little transducers don't pick up any excess noise from the outside world. So I was grounding the input, or padding the input ground to the tank, I guess would be the way you would say it. There's a couple different terminologies. But basically I wanted to make sure the entire metal box itself was connected to the whole system ground to give a little bit of shielding. Because when you buy these tanks, they set themselves up. Some reverb circuits don't like to be grounded that way. This one in particular does, and so I was just soldering a tiny little bit right there to make sure that the tank itself was grounded. So a little bit into the world of some amplifier electronics and what I do late at night after my family has gone to bed and I still can't sleep.